Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the world's greatest Spider-Man podcast. Here comes the Spider-Cast. I am your co-host, Michael, and as always, I'm joined by
Joshua Mervell, and today we're going to be taking a look at Spidey Comics from November of 1986.
That's right, and we've also got with us G.I. Jolie.
Woo!
Hello!
Don't call it a comeback.
And also Bex Luthor.
Yeah, I'm here. Here I am.
Nothing.
This is the
Okay.
best.
It's me. Yo, what up? It's your boy. What's going on?
Yeah, thanks for joining us, everybody. We're talking about comics from November 1986, and for people that learn visually, these are the covers where we had the 25th anniversary of Marvel border around every single comic that came out that month. Mm-hmm. And I'm a huge fan of this design. I'm not sure if you guys have seen these covers before we reviewed them. G.I. Jolie, have you ever seen these before?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Joshua, I'm going in order of age. Wait, who's next? Bex Luthor, have you seen these before?
I own 2 of the 3, so yes.
Oh, sweet. Joshua Mervell. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Becca.
I was just say I have Web of and I have Spectacular.
That's awesome. Josh?
Yeah, actually, I am pretty familiar with these. This is around the time I was reading, so
Sweet.
yeah, it's. I think it's pretty cool, but I think it doesn't work on some issues. I guess I'll kind of just roll into talking about Web. We're going to start off with
Sure.
Web of Spider-Man
Speaking
number
of
20.
covers that don't work, yeah.
Yes.
Right. This one sucks. I mean,
Yeah, it
this blows. I love this border is pretty fun. You know, it's celebrating the 25th anniversary, but and what it is it's just like a border, like picture framing the cover,
Right.
But what this like cool border with like, you know, dozens of Marvel characters, you know, wrapping around this cover. It's wrapped around just like the Spider-Man logo, like it's just a circle with his face, like
right.
the thing that he like. It's the Spider-Man logo in the sense that it's the one it's the logo that he presses to make like the light
On his belt.
on his belt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, just to be fair, since there were 4 Spider-Man titles, and if you include Marvel Tales, right? For Amazing, they had black costume upside down. Spectacular was half black, half Peter. And then Web was this bullshit. But the thing is Marvel Tales had the classic Spider-Man costume, a Ditko-esque Marvel, a Ditko-esque pinup of his face. So I think that's why they kind of ran out. They're like, okay, what do we got in the drawer for Web? Oh, nothing? Let's just slap this sucker on. And that's, I think, why we got stuck with this, so...
Yeah,
anyway.
I mean, for Peter Parker, they could have just gone full Peter Parker.
You're totally right. Why not?
Right?
You're right.
I mean, they have essentially the reversed image in the box up in the corner.
You're totally right.
Right? So, like, why not just do or have it another character? I mean...
Well,
like
let's not get outrageous here.
I mean,
we could.
Is it Spectacular, the one with MJ? Or one of them has, like, MJ as a main character. Like, that's a character that's been reoccurring since the beginning of... almost the beginning of Spider-Man. Why not have her there? Or J. Jonah Jameson. That's a character that's been there and is consistent throughout every single comic.
Right.
I don't know. They could have done something fun with it for the 25th. They didn't even. I don't think they even had to repeat Spider-Man on the cover every time.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. If there's 4, you're right. Get creative. Just have one of them be the odd man out. But anyway,
you have Spider-Man on this cover 2 other times. Plus every single Marvel character you could possibly think of.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's no kid's going to be confused. Wait a minute. What is this Power Man and Iron Fist? What is this? Yeah.
Yeah. So they could have done something fun with it, but instead we kind of get this crummy Web of Spider-Man cover this month. But whatever. So yeah, this issue, Web of Spider-Man number 20... this is the one where we pick up after Peter Parker and Joy Mercado. Thank you guys. Team effort there. they go on a mission to the UK to cover this story with Margaret Thatcher and whatever, and they're in the airport landing in the UK, and there's a terrorist attack, and it turns out to be like Irish terrorists.
Well,
like,
the IRA,
yeah. So I don't know what else to say about this story besides Peter Parker is trying to like get to the bottom of this without revealing that Spider-Man is there, because it'll be pretty suspect to have the two of them there at the same time, especially since Joy's already kind of like already suspects something's going on. So he sneaks away from the hotel and goes to the prison where the guy's being held that was part of the terrorist attack at the airport, and he interrogates them to figure out what's going on. So he gives up some information. He goes to this warehouse, and he stops these guys as the police show up. So he's able to kind of like help detain them, so to kind of like lower the police mortality rate on this like sting operation that's going on. We cut back. They go to the speak. What am I saying? The talk that's going on. They take pictures. Joy's doing her thing. Peter's spidey senses go off, so he hands the camera off to Joy. He jumps down the sewer, and there's there's sticks of dynamite strapped to the sewer system, and he sees the Irish terrorists down there. So he tries to stop them, and he's for the most part successful, but the explosion still does happen. But I think he's able to get... No, I think it just explodes. I don't know why it doesn't affect...
Some of them exploded, but of course everyone just got a little bit dusty. Right,
yeah, because like it didn't actually affect this like conference that was going on, so right. I don't know, whatever. Everybody's fine at the end of the day, and they head back to New York by the end of it, or I assume they're heading back.
They're actually going to Ireland.
Dublin, yeah. So that's the point of the ending, is even though they know that J. Jonah Jameson will flip his lid, they're like, actually, because the little girl died. So they're like, you know what, screw this, we're going to investigate further and whatever, find out what's going on. So here's the thing, this is part of Web of Spider-Man's new direction, and I mean, I guess it depends whether or not you think Spidey should be dealing with these types of real world situations, but I actually thought this was pretty good. I really enjoyed it.
It's kind of interesting. I feel like this is what Peter Parker should be for the for title's sake.
Right.
Like I like the idea of Peter Parker having to like always be teamed up with Joy, who kind of is like, thinks something is fishy between Peter and Spider-Man. So he's kind of got to do these like problem solving as Peter and not Spider-Man. Right. So it would make sense for the title to be Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. We can kind of get a more in-depth look of him as a person rather than just a hero.
It's almost like the TV show Lois and Clark. Imagine a TV show called just Peter Parker, and it's more of an adult show, and every episode he's got to investigate something, and there's like 5 minutes of Spider-Man, and the other 40 minutes is just Peter Parker, kind of like that, right? Yeah. G.I. Jolie, what'd you think of this one?
I liked it. But I like police procedurals. So
right.
I remember not really liking the issue when they were leading up to this. Or just like thinking it was okay or possibly terrible. I don't know. It was like 2 weeks ago. My memory is terrible, but I really liked this because it would for everything that you said about how it's more like a television show where Spider-Man shows up for about 5 minutes. Like the writing, I just want to like point out one part of the writing that I thought was like really cool. When he had that woman in his arms and he was dying, and he's like, I've got to slip away. He's thinking, I've got to slip away no matter what. And then Joy grabs his shoulder and says, Peter, you've got to slip away. And he goes, wait, huh? And I was like, wait, huh? Does she know?
Right.
Does she know he's Spider-Man? And she doesn't. It turns out she just thinks that he should be doing his job. Like this is an opportunity for him to get deeper undercover and get those great photos. And this is the perfect this is the perfect way for him to slip away to be Spider-Man. And like it's one of the better ways that he's been that sort of dichotomy between Peter and Spidey has been written for a while. I don't know, it's so subtle. I loved it.
I also like that, like, in the UK, they don't know about Spider-Man as much because he's more of a street-level character. So he can put on the costume, and the guys thought he was like a demon or something like that. Like, he was like... He didn't know it was Spider-Man. That's super interesting. And the fact that he can kind of put on the costume, but he's got to hide it from Joy because she knows... is kind of a fun like moment, and this issue is very different from last week's with friggin' Humbug and the introduction of that like character that nobody Solo, right?
Solo,
and he's just like, hey, I'm Solo, and walks away like he's in one panel. It's this is fun. If they were to like slap the new direction of Web on this issue, I would be totally for it and totally excited. But because they introduced this new direction a couple weeks ago, my worry is that because I haven't read Web in a while, and I think the Web that I remember is like in like the 90s era Web. But I'm worried that this is just going to be incoherent, like flip-flopping from each issue, if whether it's a hit or miss. So I'm hoping that they can keep this tone and carry it throughout Web, so we can have some like good episodes or issues to talk about.
Don't worry, because the issue after this is a fill-in issue by Larry Lieber, so we'll get back to that later. But
I love that.
Yeah, so this gets dropped for a month. But anyway, Becca, what did you think of this issue?
I love Joy Mercado. She's my new favorite supporting character. One, she's hot as hell and always dressed to the tens, which I mean I can appreciate. But also she's a freaking badass. She's like, how am I gonna get like in the middle of all these guns? And she's like, hey, you got time for an interview? And he's like, no, I don't have a time for an interview. I love that. I love that she sneaks out and like gets her own information while Peter's sneaking out and being Spider-Man. Like, she's such a boss lady.
What? A woman that's like competent in an actual character in a Marvel comic? What?
It's the late 80s. Things are changing.
That's true.
Slowly.
Things are changing, which is honestly fantastic because I'm so tired of freaking reading these like poorly written Deborah Whitman-esque characters. This is so refreshing. I do also love this character too. She's great.
And like that 80s prom dress. Oh my god, the pink dress. She's just going to like a nice dinner with Peter Parker, so she dresses up in this outfit. I love that they go out to dinner. And then she's like, or Peter's like, hey, you want to like, and she's like, nah, I got stuff to do.
Yeah, that was
no time for your nonsense, Peter. She is a business boss lady, and she doesn't have time for your shit. And I mean, God, a relationship with Peter Parker is just garbage. So
yeah, she's probably dodging a bullet here.
Yeah, she's like, oh, what a cute dude. Might sleep with him, but like, not gonna date him. Good for you. Because won't lie, Peter Parker pretty hot, but also like not
kind of
boyfriend material.
Not great with relationships.
No. We could ask Black Cat, or Mary Jane, or Gwen Stacy, or Betty, or
Deborah
Liz,
Whitman,
or Deborah Whitman,
or Kazar's wife, who he slept with, like 3 years ago. But anyway,
or Dagger that he kissed that one time.
Right, totally. Okay, let's talk about the art. It's by Marc Silvestri, and I don't know who. It's actually uncredited. But Josh, what do you think of the art in this one?
It's okay. I think
a little messy.
Yeah, it's messy at times, and at times it's a little bit like hard to like focus on what's going on, or it's just kind of like ugly, like when they're in like the warehouse, the crates look disgusting. They're just so poorly drawn that it's like distracting as to what I'm supposed to be looking at when everything kind of pops off like, you know, a page or two later too, with like bullets flying everywhere. It's just like it's not clean enough for the action to be clear. But other than that, it's fine. I think I think it's okay. I don't know.
G.I. Jolie, what do you think?
I agree. It's messy and sloppy. The background art, it drove me nuts. Mm-hmm. Like where they have like there's one scene where he's like screaming like up the rebels, and he's just standing in a pile of debris, and it's like, oh, okay, well they must be in a derelict building. No, everywhere there's debris in all of England. So I guess England is a pile of debris. Like it's just it's the background. The backgrounds are just super sloppy. There's also a scene where Spidey is in his suit and he's looking out a window, and it's the building is surrounded by cop cars. That one's also terrible. The crates, I agree with Josh. So poorly drawn. I just cannot.
It's such a weird thing for me to notice, but it's just, I don't know why. It's just like the crates are disgusting. They suck.
They're terrible. But like London Bridge, it's almost like a facsimile. Like it looks great. There was just weird things that they decided that they were going to, the artist thought they were going to give detail to, and then others where they just were like, you know, fuck it. Like, this is gonna be a line. And it's really you don't think about it when the art is good, but you can only see it when the art is bad. It's all I see.
Go ahead, Josh.
I think that the writing kind of matches that too at times. Like the writing is good, like what you were saying with Joy saying it's time for you to slip away or whatever, right? He's like confused, but then there's other times where it's just like too on the nose, maybe just to you know, make sure you know that you're in England. The first line out of a character that's not Joy or Peter is this like cop. Or what are the cops on the secret cops in the airplane called?
Air marshals?
Air marshals, yeah. I'm assuming that's what he was, right? I remember he was like they said something like, "Oh, he was on our flight."
His name's John Bartlett, right?
Right. Yeah, his like first line is, "I'm not in the bloody habit of giving bloody interviews in the middle of a bloody terrorist attack, you bloody Yanks." It's like just in case you didn't know we're in England.
Right.
Have a horrible like Cockney written accent.
Yeah.
Also, did the British police have guns in the 80s?
I don't think so. I think some. I know some do now, but back then I don't think they did. But I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. I was like, wow, that's a lot of guns for the UK. But like, obviously, I wasn't around during the 80s and the height of the IRA, which I know they had guns and stuff. I was just like, look at these bobbies. Oh, they got machine guns. That's weird.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. The inker was apparently Bob McLeod, who was one of my favorite inkers, but maybe this isn't quite a good match on this issue. But also the fact that the issue after this is a fill-in tells me that they're probably having trouble trouble meeting the deadlines at this time. So maybe that's why it seems a little rushed, right?
Right. Maybe. Yeah.
But here's the thing. Oh, go ahead, Josh.
I was gonna say, because there are times where it's like really well done. The beginning first few pages are really great. The inking, especially on like Peter's face when they're taking cover in this like terrorist attack at the airport, like they're really well done. And then I feel like as the issue goes, it gets messier and messier, and it just kind of like becomes more lazy or like quickly done, like rushed. So
Becca, have you talked about the art?
It wasn't. I didn't. It was fine. It was pretty muddy.
Yeah.
It like, I agree with Josh. It does look like it's getting worse. Like there is this large panel of Joy Mercado in supposed to be this like stunning dress, and Peter's like, "Wow, holy shit, what a babe!" But like, she kind of looks like a foot.
Like a thumb. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, she still looks good to me, but
I mean, you can't see her face, and her eyes are all smushed, and like it's like it should have been more like
yeah, like a splash page of like, yeah, I know what you mean. Like if this was done by Marc Beachum from Peter Parker, it would have been like a double page splash with her legs spread.
I don't think she would
Okay.
be. He would have walked into her apartment and she wouldn't have been dressed
she'd
yet.
been completely naked, bent over, getting something.
I didn't mean like she needed to look sexier.
I
mean the art
yeah,
needed to be
yeah.
better.
I know
Yeah.
what you mean. I'm just kidding. Anyway.
Also, yeah, I don't. It's the crates are bad.
Okay, where's this crate shot? I keep looking for it. What's this shot?
Okay, I don't have the page numbers. It's when he goes into the warehouse after interrogating the guy in the prison.
Wait,
So like after Joy gets the Roxxon papers, the next page after that.
Oh.
You can see the crates in the background. Like it doesn't even look like he used a ruler to draw them in the back. Like the one on the bottom is like so much tinier than all the other ones, and it's like slanted over to like it's just awful. And it's like it doesn't even have any like perspective on it. They're just like squares in the background with like horribly drawn lines.
No,
It's like sorry.
Go ahead, Becca.
No, I was gonna say it's like I know I'm reading a comic book, but for some reason the crates they look more cartoony than like.
Right.
It's like Roger Rabbit in the middle of live action. Like it's like that jarring.
You know what? There's a couple panels in this issue that look like they were inked by other people. Now, we've talked about this before, but have I explained Romita's Raiders to you guys? No.
Probably, but do it again because we probably weren't listening.
John Romita Sr. was the art director of Marvel, and he had a team of like just, young kids who helped him, and whenever there was mistakes or things that need to be fixed in any Marvel comic, they would just go in, redraw it, re-ink it. Sometimes you'll see like dialogue corrected in like a different font or whatever. So I think this might have been a case where someone was like, hey, we can't tell what room they're in, and so let's get this 19-year-old guy from Windsor to just draw in these backgrounds, and that's probably what it was. And that's why it looks so out of place and so terrible. It's probably just some assistant, intern guy who's just going in and drawing these milk crates, I think. So that's probably what's happening, yeah. But anyway, okay, so here's the thing. I do recommend this issue. I think it was actually really good. And if not a masterpiece, it's kind of like the promise of what Web Spider-Man could be, or Peter Parker could be, if it was like a TV show, like a monthly TV show, with like a different thing every week. So I think it was really good. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this issue. I think that the art is not like poor in any sense. Like it's not bad. It just gets kind of muddy in like I think Bex used that term, which is really good. Yeah, it's good. I recommend it.
Awesome. Okay, G.I. Jolie, what do you think?
Oh yeah, I recommend it.
All right, Bex Luthor.
Yeah, no, it was good. If you know anything about the IRA, go for it, I guess.
Okay, all right.
I don't know. It's just always so strange when we are reading comics and there's like real world things in them, right? Like real world events that actively affected real people and real people's lives. Right.
So and like Spidey just comes in and
just punches the IRA right in the face, solve the problem for you.
Yes.
So it's always a little bit awkward when that happens. And I understand, like, obviously comic books, like, art can reflect reality and stuff like that. It's just sometimes it's a little comedic and it shouldn't be. It's like when you go back and you read comic books that were after September 11th, 2001, right? And you read them and you're like, oof, Jesus, okay. It's like that.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
Never forget.
Okay. All right. Never forget the Alamo. Okay, so Amazing Spider-Man 282. So for those that don't know, at this time, the original X-Men were in a team called X-Factor, and I've read every single X-Factor comic, and I still find the concept confusing because what it is the original X-Men became superheroes called the Exterminators, dressed up as superheroes, but they disguise themselves in these blue kind of Ghostbuster-y costumes, and in these secret identities, they call themselves the Exterminators. No, I have it backwards. I already have it backwards, right? The superheroes are Exterminators. The Ghostbusters are X-Factor. That's what it is. But the confusing thing is that it should be reversed. So when you're buying this comic called X-Factor, you're technically buying a comic about the Ghostbusters, but that's their secret identity, and the real guys are Exterminators. So anyway, it's confusing as heck. But I think it's a good concept of the fact that they were posing as people who were investigating mutants in order to kind of like capture them and contain them. But really, it was just so they could find these mutants and protect them from anti-mutant hysteria, which I think is a great idea. So I'm not sure if anyone here has read any X-Factor comics. Anyone? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah, so cool concept. I like it. So basically in this issue, we kind of touch base with MJ and Peter. They do their thing. Peter's all tired as usual. MJ's trying to take care of him. Then J. Jonah Jameson gets this idea from seeing this X-Factor commercial on TV that he's going to hire X-Factor to hunt down Spider-Man because he thinks that he might be a mutant. But then we get some scenes with X-Factor and Cameron Hodge. It's kind of like a plug, right, for the X-Factor comic. And it's cool seeing Rick Leonardi draw them because, these are some cool costumes. And then basically X-Factor has a little meeting with J. Jonah Jameson. And they're like, okay, well, we will investigate this, but first you have to pay us $50,000. And how do they word it? It's so J. Jonah Jameson pays it out of his pocket, and they're like, what is it? We'll need a small retainer fee before we can begin work, and basically we're gonna find out. They don't think he's a mutant, but they're like, well, we'll look into it anyway. So then after they leave, J. Jonah Jameson is like, basically he admits that he thinks that they're frauds, and so that no matter what happens, he's gonna expose them as frauds. And what's his name? Joe Robertson doesn't like them either, and as he's walking away, he's like, I hate everything they stand for, meaning X-Factor. They hunt mutants the way that others used to hunt blacks and Jews. But the Bugle must act responsibly. We're a newspaper, not a smear sheet. So he's not going to let J. Jonah Jameson publish a smear campaign against X-Factor because he wants them to actually investigate them and find out if they are frauds, blah, blah, blah. So we cut over to Peter Parker. He takes off Mary Jane, puts on his black cloth costume, goes around swinging, web swinging to clear his head like usual, and then he runs into the Beast in his X-Factor costume. But he doesn't recognize him because this is back when not every Marvel superhero was all in one giant frickin' team and all knew each other. He doesn't recognize Beast because the last time he saw the Beast was blue and furry. Then the Angel comes up, and he's like, well, wait a minute, I recognize that guy. That's the Angel. But he's still all, he's kind of woozy because of his injuries from, I don't even remember what, to be honest.
Rhino,
that's right. Because he got the head injury from Rhino.
Yeah,
right,
it was like the shitty Sinister Six.
Right. So he's not really thinking straight. So he's fighting the Beast, fighting Angel. Meanwhile, on the ground, Cyclops and Jean Grey and Iceman are there. Spidey sees him, gets into a fight with them. He's fighting Cyclops. He's fighting Marvel Girl. And then what happens is Angel punches Spider-Man. but it knocks Marvel Girl off of the roof. But since Spider-Man is deep down a hero, he knows he's still got to rescue her, so he shoots his web, and it's a scene that actually kind of echoes, the Gwen Stacy thing. He actually does capture her, and then he passes out. But then the scene is kind of robbed of all of its drama, because then Marvel Girl's like, oh, he passed out? Good. He'll never have to know that I could have telekinetically saved myself. So it wasn't really that big a deal anyway, because she could have saved herself. So then they're like, well, what should we do? Should we bring back the J. Jonah Jameson? They're like, well, after what happened here, we don't really have much of a choice, do we? So they go back to J. Jonah Jameson, and they return the $50,000 retainer fee. And he's like, why not? He's like, and they're like, after extensive research, we can only conclude that Spider-Man is not a mutant. So, of course, J. Jonah Jameson's furious. He's like, who cares about that? I want that web-singing stooge locked up. And then they're like, well, perhaps you should consult with one of the local law enforcement agencies. So then, meanwhile, Robbie Robertson has decided that he is not going to publish this smear campaign. And he's like, I refuse to do it. Here is my key to the executive washroom. It's your choice. You can either send down your smear campaign editorial or my key to the inter-office mail. I won't need both. That cuts back to Spidey waking up in an ambulance with Iceman, who he, of course, knows because they used to be Spider friends. So Iceman drives away, and then Spider-Man's like, huh, that was funny. So then it cuts over to Robbie Robertson opening up this envelope. The key falls out, which basically means that J. Jonah Jameson's decided he's not going to publish the editorial smear campaign. So now they're all buddy-buddy. And that's the end. They walk away, and everything goes back to status quo. Happy ending. Woo! And, of course, I love it. I love X Factor. Good story by Tom DeFalco, and I love Rick Leonardi. So I'm loving this issue. G.I. Jolie, what'd you think of it?
I think I can hear you clapping. Oh, my God. Woo! Did you clap just at the end there?
Pretty much, yeah.
I liked it. I didn't hate it. I thought it was weird. It was like the weirdest thing that I've ever read the X-Men kind of crossover in.
Right.
I wasn't sure. You know what? Nothing was super. Nothing was overreaching or kind of. I don't know what to. Do you know what? I honestly. I didn't hate it.
Okay.
But I didn't like it.
Did you like
Is anyone
X
else
Factor?
feeling these feelings? I don't really know much about X Factor other than like the makeup of the team and then what they were supposed to kind of be about. Like I read them as a kid and I just didn't understand it. But that's because I didn't read every single issue. It just read what I could, which was like an issue here or there. So they weren't the X-Men that I had been seeing on the 90s cartoon, so I just stopped getting it.
Okay.
So just the way that they fit in with Spider-Man is weird.
Sure.
I think the thing for me is I really hate when superheroes fight.
Right.
When they can just talk to each other.
Uh-huh.
Like it doesn't make sense that Spider-Man knows these guys. These guys know Spider-Man. It just doesn't make sense that it would just go straight into a fight. Like, why wouldn't Iceman talk to him?
Right.
Why wouldn't he recognizes and knows Angel? Why doesn't he say something?
Right.
I get it. It's fun watching our heroes fight each other and have these small fights when they have misunderstandings. I like that, but when it's easily resolved by saying, hey, Spider-Man, I got a question for you, instead of, well, I guess we'll meet him on a rooftop and beat the shit out of him.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just are you kidding? He already has, I'm pretty sure we've actually read an issue. Did we not read an issue where Spider-Man talks about how he's not a mutant?
Yes.
So,
but X Factor doesn't know that.
Right, but if they would have asked, it could have just been this discussion hey, I want to be completely honest. Yeah, no. We're friends. I want to be completely honest with you. JJ hired us to kind of figure out what's going on and see if you're a mutant or whatever. No, I'm not. And then done. I know that kind of stops the entire story, but they could have introduced like something else like that they have to kind of do, or some sort of obstacle to get over. But I don't know. So I thought it was fine. I think the characters are fun. They have a good dynamic. It's a really great story to have like JJ hire these like he'll hire these people that he really doesn't like and doesn't believe in just to take down the person he hates the most. Right. So that's like a super fun idea. I think that just in that like climax and how it all comes to a head is kind of disappointing for me. So I think that's why I wasn't as excited for this.
Okay, Bex Luthor, what do you think?
It's amazing, and it was a mess. Like, that's just kind of... It's Amazing Spider-Man. There's a bunch of things going on at once, and I didn't care about any of them. Like, I don't know what to tell you. When you were reviewing it, too, you didn't even talk about Flash Thompson's lawyer, because she's in this issue, too.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. I skimmed over that.
And then Mary Jane's sleeping with some guy. Who's that guy? I don't know.
Right. Yes, I was shocked by that, too.
Alfredo.
She woke up with him, right. Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean she slept with him. Also, it doesn't matter if she slept with him, because she's allowed to sleep with whoever she wants. But, like, why is that there?
I had to go back and reread it, because I thought when she said Alfredo, it was like a fun nickname like Tiger. Because I was thinking about the pasta.
Face it, Alfredo.
No, it's a real name.
Right?
Yeah, I know it is. But for some, in my stupid small pea brain, I was like, pasta.
Yeah. I didn't like that she called him Tiger. That's Peter's nickname. Like, does she just call every dude she's with Tiger? That really makes it not worth as much anymore.
She called Alfredo Tiger?
Yeah. She says, maybe next time, Tiger.
Nope.
Okay. And I don't know why looks like it's the morning and she's leaving, and he's like, but why don't you stay? Like, dude, she's got stuff to do. I don't know. The J. Jonah stuff and Robbie is cool. I like that. Like Josh was saying, the whole, like, Batman vs. Superman with this superhero fights for, like, things that they could easily just talk about for 5 minutes kind of gets old. And like it looks like they're like the X-Men are like trying to set up to find out if Peter is a good guy or not, but I'm pretty sure they know he's a good guy
because they've known him for like 26 years. Yeah, exactly.
Like you know Peter's a good guy. Weren't we all on Battleworld together? How many of the X-Men were on Battleworld?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, X Factor were not though.
None of them were? Oh.
No, I don't. I mean, I can go back and double check, but I don't think they were.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe Cyclops, that's it.
No, I think it was Wolverine and Magneto.
Yeah.
No, there was a decent amount of mutants because they split up, right? Because the Avengers get mad that the mutants are defending Magneto.
It was just, I'm looking at it right now, it was just Cyclops, because Cyclops was with the X-Men at that point, and the other 4 members were not around, so...
Okay, well, anyway, also, Scott.
Sorry, like you said before, Bobby is his super friend, or ex-super friend. Like, he know? Okay.
Is that canon in 616?
And by the way, first of all, it's Spider-Friend. But anyway, it's technically not canon, but it was made canon later. Like, later stories, I think it was actually Brian Bendis, who I don't like at all, but for this one thing, I'll give him a point. He made it canon, the TV show. So
interesting. So
God bless Brian Bendis. What's that?
Sorry, go ahead, Josh.
I was gonna ask. So then, like, it's been retconned that Bobby knew that Peter was Spider-Man, or that
I don't know about that.
Teamed up together. They just made that they teamed up together.
I think they retconned it. I think it's like Ms. Line was the dog. There was an apartment with a thing.
That's all I care about.
Yeah,
that's exactly Ms. Line, right?
Okay, cool.
Okay,
yeah,
so at this point, no.
I guess not.
No.
I do really like.
But they definitely know each other. But they know each other for sure.
Yeah,
they should know each other. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I love that Peter just wakes up in the back of Iceman's van. He's like, "Oh, my head hurts. What's going on?" And he just kicks him out. Like, "Oh, you're fine. Here you go. Here's your stop. Just this street corner. Bye-bye." Like, and then drives away,
See ya.
waving,
Yep.
like Iceman driving his van away.
Yeah,
Love that
you're right,
panel.
you're right. Take care, web spinner. The two of us aren't all that different. The general public will always distrust and fear us both. There you go. Sounds
Yeah,
like
it's just,
what Iceman would say.
it's a lot of, like, panels of, like, oh, what a weird misunderstanding. And, like, they're trying to keep X Factor a secret. Like, Spider-Man can't know that the X-Men are the ones, hunting mutants to save them instead. Like, why would that be a bad thing for Spider-Man to know that X Factor isn't...
Wait. You're totally right, Becca. Why did they show up in their X Factor uniforms instead of their Exterminator ones? Because then
makes no sense.
Spider-Man would have had a reason to attack them, right?
Yes.
This is
Wait a
why it was
second.
confusing as F.
Yeah.
They even talk
Now-
about it. They're like, should we show up in, like, our Exterminator outfits or what? And they're like, well, let's just do it. And then they
Yeah.
just show up in their regular outfits.
So, one other thing I gotta point out is that the creator of the X Factor concept was actually Bob Layton, and Bob Layton inks this issue, so we partially have to blame him because this concept does not work. And when our pal Louise Simonson took over X Factor, she did everything she could to get them away from the concept, fix it, and try to make it more like a normal, superhero comic. And so, but anyway. So, by the way, I love the art by Rick Leonardi, but I don't think Bob Layton was a good match for him. So the art is good, but not great, in my opinion. We'll just leave it. Oh, I got a quick question. Does anyone have anything to say about these costumes? Because I love X Factor's costumes. Or am I the only one that cares? Josh? Or
Like
Julie?
like the blue and white X Factor?
No,
they're
like
fun.
the superhero ones, like Cyclops with a big X and Jean Grey with the big X. Like I think those are so cool.
Yeah.
Like their individual ones, not their
Yeah.
Exterminator blue ones.
Right.
Yeah. No. These ones are these costumes. I think are really fun.
Yeah, I love them.
I love this big goofy X on Cyclops. I like Angels, like red and white. Yeah, it's fun. They're good.
Anyone else?
Why doesn't
go ahead,
Iceman?
Becca.
Why doesn't Iceman get an X?
He does. I think he gets one later. It's like when he's not iced up, he's like light blue and light gray or something. I can't remember. G.I. Joe, you like him?
Yeah, they're fine.
Okay.
Do you know what else, just as a weird segue or related adjacent costume segue, is the fact that, remember in the last issue before all this junk was happening, Robbie sees the photos of Hobgoblin and
they
Flash
address
Thompson?
That. Yeah.
So they address, okay, speaking of things that don't work, the thing that does work is the whole JJJ hiring X Factor to hunt Peter.
Right.
And then the whole controversy between him and Robbie.
Yeah.
That is a storyline that works. But it gets... And then Robbie's like, hey, the costumes are different. There's no way Flash Thompson is a Hobgoblin.
Right.
That just gets swept to the side by this other garbage.
Yeah, you're right. They built it up to be a big thing, and then you're right.
What a shitty lawyer, huh? To not notice that. to not notice that the costumes are different.
Hey, she's a lawyer, not a detective. Does she have access to those photos? Is that part of her case?
I mean, the press
Yeah,
has
maybe
access to
not.
them.
Yeah.
I mean, I would immediately give them... If I was Robbie Robertson, I would give them to his lawyer immediately. I almost said not just Sean. Miss Banks.
He tries to give them to her, and she just wants nothing to do with it for a while. She's like, don't talk to me. And he's like, okay, I guess.
But...
So, yeah. I mean, sorry, Josh.
No. I was going to say, I was going to go into recommendations.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I recommend it.
But if you have something else to say...
I'm super excited. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was going to say I don't recommend it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yikes.
Okay, I do. I totally recommend this. Josh?
I think I'd recommend it. It's not fantastic, but again, for me, I don't know why, it's just one of my pet peeves. Like, it's fun seeing superheroes fight each other, but if there's no reason, like, we just wanted to have them fight each other because we thought it'd be fun, then it falls apart. Like, a good example is, like, in the first Avengers movie, when Iron Man, Cap, and Thor are fighting each other, right? Like, Thor is coming in from outer space. They've never seen this dude before, and he's stealing the bad guy that they just captured. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense that they, there's an actual reason for them to fight each other.
Sure.
Right? Because they think this alien is, like, trying to free his brother. But in this case, it's like they're friends, and then all of a sudden they're just fighting on the rooftop? For what? Like, it doesn't make sense. So, yeah, a mild recommendation.
Okay, Bex Luthor?
It was okay. I mean, if you want to read it, go for it. It doesn't really further the plot of Amazing. It's just, like, kind of fillery. Also, it's just a big advertisement for X Factor.
It worked on me.
It didn't need to. You were already reading X Factor.
I don't think I was. I think this is what got me on X Factor.
Well, congratulations. Yeah. Advertising works on you.
Woo.
But it doesn't work on me. I'm not a sheep.
I am. I'm a sheeple.
Bah.
Okay, anyway. All right, on to the next one. Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, number 120. Ooh. This is by Fill-In Team, but who's doing this one again? Is it Bex Luthor?
No.
Jolie.
G.I. Jolie.
Yeah, a fill-in team. So it's Bill Mantlo on the story, Keith Giffen on pencils, and Vince Colletta on inks. So this is a strange one.
Yes.
And it's almost experimental, but it's fun. The plot in one sentence is Spider-Man takes on the modern Scourge, probably the most dangerous enemy to urban populations everywhere. Gentrification.
Right.
And then it kind of snowballs from there. There's the idea that there are gangs. It's just like the layers of politics, of real estate politics, where this is how gangs are involved, and this is how the man on the street is involved, and this is how the landlords are involved, and the police, and it just shows everybody's role, and everyone has a role to play, and everyone needs to see how either gentrification can be good or bad for an urban population. And that is the story.
Yes, yes.
He ultimately ends off helping somebody collect signatures. Like, I think his biggest dilemma is whether he should sign the petition or not. Right. And then he ends up signing the petition with the old man whose building is potentially in jeopardy. And then the third signature, I can't remember who that person was, but like the majority of the issue is spent with him battling, maybe defending against the gang that the landlord of a neighboring building has hired to run out the current tenants so that they can capitalize on the gentrification that's happening in their area. So it's like an episode of Shameless, but like,
but I can imagine
with more tights and fire, and that's it.
Here's the thing. Let's just remind people. Bill Mantlo was the regular writer of Peter Parker for like 5 years. He left, and this is obviously a fill-in issue. I believe this is the last Spider-Man comic Bill Mantlo ever did. The art is by Keith Giffen, who is mostly famous for doing a really long run on Legion of Superheroes. Then he became the plotter of Justice League International, and he's still around. He's known as more of a comedy writer. His art, he started out as kind of a regular artist, and then he started getting into these weird experimental styles right around this time. So it's hard to talk about this issue without talking about the art. It is completely unlike anything probably in mainstream comics at this point. It's really hard to explain, but extreme close-ups on faces and oh boy, I don't even know how to describe this. I know there's a little bit of influence from Watchmen and like the panel layouts, but it's really bizarre. It's one of those things where when I was a kid, I didn't hate it, but I also didn't know if I liked it. Josh, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's strange. I'm not sure if it works, only because only half of the issue, like only certain characters are stylized, and where others are like almost caricatures of people. Like Peter Parker looks like he does in every single issue of Spider-Man, and then this like the old man, or like the like the goon that stops him from going up the stairs with the tiny glasses, or the guy at the end of the issue who throws the Molotov cocktail. Like they almost look like Beavis and Butthead characters. How like cartoony and disproportionate they are. You know, like it's strange. I think that the art is really interesting and fun to look at, and if the entire issue was like that, I think it would be great. But I think it's just weird that it's mixed in with that semi-realism of Peter.
Sure.
And the only reason Peter Parker looks like realistic right now is because of how far the other characters are pushed. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. It's definitely interesting to look at. I just don't know if it works in like a storytelling perspective, because it doesn't mesh well together. Right.
Bex Luthor, what do you think?
I loved it.
Oh, cool.
This art is right up my alley. It's just strange enough and just noir enough. French kiss. Love it. I love how weird it is. I love Beavis and Butthead. Big fan of Daria. No. This Spider-Man is one of my favorites. He is so menacing and like it's almost spooky the way that he's drawn, like half in the shadows most of the time. The shading I could talk about all day. There's like that big splash page of just Spider-Man jumping and like the flames near the end of the issue.
Right.
When I was reading it, I had to like show it to my partner. I was like, look at how cool this panel is. He also agreed that it was cool. Yeah, I love I think it's earlier in the issues where there's two panels. I think it's like page 3 or 4. 2 panels are just the word go. I love that. And like the old man holding the hatchet and the pink flash background, and then like everyone's in red. No. The story doesn't... I don't even care about the story. I just really like the art.
Okay. Well, here's the thing is, I actually think the story was really, to be honest, I thought it was good. And it's funny because in 1 month we've had Spider-Man dealing with 2 very relevant topics at the time, which I guess was, well, one always is terrorism, and the other one is what would you call this, Jolie?
Gentrification?
Gentrification, yes.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that's
again,
definitely not relevant right now at all.
Still a topic that's relevant right now. So I think it's cool that Spider-Man's dealing with that. It's weird because the art, it's such a, I don't know if the art quite matches, like, it's weird. It's like it's like borderline between almost like just indie creator art and like mainstream art. So I don't know, I can't put my finger on it. I don't know where to place it, but I definitely appreciate that they were doing something different, that's for sure. And as far as the writing, I mean, I love Bill Mantlo, so I thought the story was good. So I don't know, an oddball issue, but I definitely am glad that, you know, they were trying something different, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see. Well, I mean, once it literally knocks on Peter's door. Hi, Parker. Once the issues, all these real world issues literally knock on his front door, it's kind of jarring in an escapist way. Like, to see how affected Peter is by these issues. It's almost as if, you know what I mean? We're so used to him dealing with crime or, you know, and flying through the streets, but something as big as gentrification and how it affected New York in the 1980s. You know, he's confronted by it, and it almost comes off as Peter Parker being like kind of naive to these issues.
Right.
And it is both jarring for a character that we're so used to seeing as being like heroic. It's jarring for us to see him in this awkward position, but it's also refreshing because, you know, it's like that Superman story from the Golden Age where he does taxes.
Right.
Where he helps a guy by doing his taxes. Because, like, he helps his neighborhood by aiding the old man in the next building by getting rid of, like, you know, just these mechanisms that are in place to further gentrify where they live.
It's funny you say that because last week we talked about Spider-Man doing his taxes.
Oh boy.
Right. A taxing time. Yep.
Yeah.
It's tax time.
Yeah. And I think the art is maybe a reflection of the medium showcasing these sort of issues, these real world issues. You have a mixture of Peter who it is assumed that the reader feels is real, but everyone who is the most real, who is mainly involved in the real world issue, is sort of serialized in a way that is really cool. Like they're like caricatures of a gangster, of an Irish gangster. Like Peter, you only see him. I really like this one where he's like, where he's confronting the guy with the Molotov cocktail, and it's like an idea of Spider-Man. Instead of seeing him, it's a web in the darkness in a doorway, and then his eyes.
Yes,
I thought that was really cool. This is like the kind of like academic fodder that I'm into. And I could tear this apart and talk about it for days.
Right.
This is probably one of my favorite issues that we've like ever read of Spectacular. So I'm there with Becca. You tried to hide it, but it was still there.
I know, I pushed the mic away. I'm sorry.
But
yeah, like this is one of those ones where whenever I reread it, I'm always a little bit like, am I gonna like this one again? But no, I thought it was really good. I'm surprised. Yeah. So again, from a time like I don't think this could be published today. I mean, maybe, but there was just so many. Again, there was 4 Spider-Man titles, right? So they could kind of fit in weird ones like this, and they knew that people were going to buy it anyway, so they weren't risking much. But I'm just glad that they could take chances on stuff like this. Were you going to say something, Josh?
No, I totally agree. It's a very different, interesting story. The art is really very unique. It's really weird that he's back in his red and blues, huh?
Well, that shows that it's clearly a fill-in from like 20 issues ago, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Just really funny the whole time I could hear I think someone had posted on our Facebook page, the Comic Book Syndicate Facebook page. It was probably like something about like a meme about keeping politics out of comics. And it's like
that was me.
And all the time we're like, you realize that comics are politics. Like,
right. They've always been
a form of propaganda, and they've
Captain
always been.
America punched Hitler in his like first appearance.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah. But, you know, keep it American. It's not propaganda until if it serves whatever machine.
It's people only call it political if they disagree with it. That's the issue. Comics have always dealt with politics, but they never realized it was political. But anyway,
it's always weird whenever those people are complaining that it's too political. It's never too political on the right side.
Right. Exactly.
It's always like, these women shouldn't be talking.
Right.
There's people of color in this. I don't like it. Get out of here. Excuse me. Those, not my Christian comic books.
I miss the days where all the characters were white.
For no particular reason other than, that's how it was. And it should stay that way.
Right.
All right, sir.
So, I definitely recommend this issue. Josh, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely would. Oh.
G.I. Jolie?
I 1000% recommend this issue.
Right. Bex Luthor?
Yeah, no, definitely, for sure. I mean,
yeah.
Anytime any sort of comic books, especially like Spider-Man and some of like the more popular heroes, get involved in something that matters more, it's always interesting read, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And gentrification for the kids. learn about how the wealthy are taking over your homes.
Mm-hmm. Learn to spot the signs.
Mm-hmm. Is that everybody? Josh, did you recommend it?
Yep.
Yeah, everyone did. Okay, cool. So in a usual episode, that would be the end. But once again, we have an annual. So tune in for the next hour as we talk about Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 20.
I feel like we could sum this up in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's not make anyone suffer any more than they have to. Who's summarizing this one again?
It's me.
Woo!
Yay!
All right, Bex, tell us what this one's about.
This one's about Iron Man, but Iron Man 2020, so the one that nobody cares about. Basically, he has a time machine and then fucks it all up, and the issue ends and everything's the exact same.
The end.
Boom. Hey, this issue sucks. I don't recommend it.
Some great
Anyways, we want to
ads
thank
in
you
this
guys
issue,
so
though.
much for listening to the podcast. It really helps me.
No,
Until
okay.
next week. See you later. Okay.
Okay, as I was reading this, I was like, where's Spider-Man? The whole time, basically. Mm-hmm. So we start off with Arno Stark, he's not Tony Stark's son. He's like Tony Stark's cousin's son. And he becomes the heir to like the Stark Industries fortune, I guess, in the far off year of 2020. Nobody's wearing their masks, first off, so little upset about that. But yeah, turns out this Iron Man, doesn't see his wife and kids as often as he should. Great, fun. He's Times Man of the Year. Who cares? So I guess basically what's happening is he has government contracts and he makes all his money by making weapons and munitions for the army. And he's like, maybe I shouldn't do that. Nah, forget it. I like money. So he's also Times Man of the Year for some reason. Anyway, so his family goes to go visit him in the lab because he won't come home. And there's this guy who used to work for him who is going to blow up his building. But he wasn't actually going to blow it up. He was just going to almost blow it up. But then they kill him too quickly, so he does blow it up. So Tony Stark uses his time... Or not Tony Stark. So Arno Stark uses his time machine to go back in time to kill this Bobby Sanders boy or guy when he's a child, instead, so that he could never set this bomb off and kill his wife and son. Child. Not really sure of the child's gender.
Wait, doesn't he go back to get the codes to stop the bomb from going off, right?
He goes back to get a retina scan.
Right, yeah.
Just a retina scan. Not kill the kid. Sorry. I don't know why I thought it was more interesting than it was. So
your headcanon is much better.
It goes back and kills him. So he looks in his files, and the last time anyone has ever seen this Bobby Sanders guy was when he was a child, and he was rescued by Spider-Man. So we go to present time, like 80s Spider-Man, because we're not in the far-off future of 2020 anymore. And Spider-Man is fighting some goons who were robbing a bank along with the Blizzard. I wasn't very familiar with the Blizzard, but I guess it's an Iron Man bad guy.
Yeah, I don't really know him well, but yeah.
Basically, if Iceman sucked, that's this guy. And not sucking dick if I tell him. Because Iceman's gay. Anyway.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you were talking about how much you hated Brian Michael Bendis before. I was like, yeah, also he made Iceman gay and just retconned every meaningful relationship Iceman ever had in his entire life, and also could have just made him bisexual, but no, biphobia in the comic book industry. But anyway, sorry, I have a lot of feelings on Brian Michael Bendis as well.
Yeah, mostly just that he sucks, but anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so Spider-Man is fighting these goons, robbing this bank, and the Blizzard is with them for some strange reason. He gets all the goons and goes to the Daily Planet, and there's this kid there, and this kid is like, has a freaky sixth sense or whatever, and he just seems to know what Peter Parker's feeling at all times. Mm-hmm. Like, I guess, Peter needs money because he needs rent, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's always the story. And this kid is like, he speaks like an adult. It's strange. So, like, there's sometimes when people don't know how to write children, but this is like, this child is acting like an adult. I don't think this kid is in anything else after this.
No.
Or before this. I think it's just this. So there's no, like, backstory to why Robert Sanders is a terrorist in the future or anything. That just is in the story. So... Oh, yeah, so what happened? Sorry, I glazed through half of this.
Yeah, so did I.
So he gets a
gig with Jay Jonah to get some money, and he dances with the homeless guy, and he goes into his apartment, and he goes into Mary Jane's apartment, just as Spider-Man for some reason. And then he goes home, and there's a great shot of Bambi and Candy on the sunroof.
Of course.
And then he's leaving his apartment, well, as Spider-Man, because he doesn't want to. So he can't go out the roof, because Bambi and Candy are there. And he can't leave out the door, because his landlord's there. And he doesn't have the rent. So he dresses up as Spider-Man and walks out the door.
That's good writing right there. Anyway, go ahead.
I actually really like that. Mm-hmm. That he just walks past his landlady, and she's like, oh, that's Spider-Man. He doesn't live here. I don't need to collect rent from him.
Right.
But that kid is in his apartment for some reason. So he takes the kid, and he's like, hey, kid, let's find your let's take you home or whatever. Turns out the Blizzard immediately got out of jail. Like this is the same day. They weren't like the next day or anything. No. So the Blizzard's out of jail, and he kidnaps this boy. Kidnaps Bobby, slaps him across the face. And then this is when future Iron Man comes back to the past to try to get this Bobby's eye, his retina scan, so that he can stop the bomb in his future and save his wife and kid. A fight ensues because it looks like Iron Man's trying to hurt/kidnap this child, and Spider-Man is very confused why Iron Man would want to hurt or kidnap a child. So instead of just explaining the situation, because he doesn't have time. That's how time travel works. You just don't have enough time. I don't think that... Just say, hey, I'm from the future. I just need this kid's eye scans to stop a bomb. And they were like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, don't they make a comment about how time is going at the same speed still?
Yeah, that's not like, how it works.
Okay, sure. Sure.
Look, I'm not sure how time travel would work if it was possible, but it's not like that.
Not like this.
It's either linear or it's not. It's not both. Anyway, so they're still fighting, and Bobby gets hurt, and like he gets scarred on his face, which is apparently eventually what sets him off to become a terrorist later. Like, he hates Iron Man because Iron Man did this to him. So later he's gonna blow up Iron Man's factory. So basically, Arno did this all to himself. He runs out of time. didn't get the scan after being beat up by Peter Parker a bunch of times. Goes back to his own time, where his wife is everyone's dead. And then Peter visits Bobby in the hospital. He's like, "Hey, Bobby, how you doing? Is everything's good?" And that kid's like, "Hey, you know what? I'm fine. I'm alive. Also, now I'm friends with Spider-Man, so that's pretty cool. Also, still gonna become a terrorist in the future." And then Bobby's dad is there, and he's like, "Is there anything I could do for you? You saved my son's life." And then Peter's like, "How about my rent money?" And so he just takes money from this man. Peter Parker, I couldn't sell my goddamn gold notebook to save my aunt. Just takes money from a man for saving his kid.
He takes it on loan though. He said, I'll do it as long as I could pay you back.
He's not gonna pay him back.
He's not gonna pay him back.
Yeah, so the guy's like, "How much do you want? 10,000? 15?" And Peter's like, "How about $275.36? So, and that's the part where it ends with Peter. He's like, "How about $200? Lol." And then the next page is Arno Stark crying because everyone he's ever loved has been exploded.
It's star wipes from Spidey looking at the camera.
He's literally shrugging, going, but yeah, so this Bobby character is never brought up again. I know Arno Stark is. I don't think this was his first appearance, right?
He appeared one time before this in Machine Man, but this is his chronological first appearance that explains his origin.
Oof, rough, bud. So rough origin. Yeah, so he's the reason why his family's dead. Like, if he hadn't messed around with time. That's the only reason I know who Arno Stark is because of Timekeeper's stuff. So shout out to Loki. I don't know what to say. Why do animals have to suck?
Here's the thing is, yes, it does suck. You actually gave it more attention than I did because by page 3 I was skim reading. Like, and I'm looking up the guy who thought up the plot. His name's Fred Schiller. He's never done another comic book in his life. It was written by Ken McDonald, who's never done a comic in his life. And I think it's very obvious, right? Like, this is clearly... I'm not saying that they can't write, but this is not a great comic book.
They have
no clue how to, like... There's too much dialogue, too much crap going on. It's half the story before Spider-Man comes in. And the art is not terrible, but it's not great storytelling. It's just like... It's just a big mess of crap. That's my impression of this issue. And there's a reason I sold it, and I never want to read it again. It's like you said, why do annuals have to suck? This is such a thrown together... It could have been good. Like, that was a good idea. Like, you know, tell the origin of Iron Man 2020. But I just thought it was unreadable. Josh, what'd you think?
Oh, it was awful.
Yeah?
It was really tough to get through. Half of this issue is set in the future. It's 30 years in the future. People are flying around on speeder bikes and X-Wings, and it's fucking boring. It sucks. The best thing about this issue was the Dungeons and Dragons ad for the original D&D ad. This sucks. I really did not have fun. Probably at any point in this issue, like it was just dull throughout.
I enjoyed the end where his wife was dead and he's sad. It's pretty funny.
Nothing about this stands out where I would be like, this issue kind of sucks, but at least this was good. I'm like, there's nothing. I don't think there's really anything in here worth like checking out.
Yeah, there's nothing.
The art isn't awful, but it's not. There's nothing in it that stands out to be like, look at this really cool part. You should check this panel out. It's all fine. It's just, I don't know. It could be too because I was just so bored that I started like skimming. Like my eyes glossed over, and I'm like, all right, just power through it. Come on. So yeah.
G.I. Jolie.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't even get to it. It's like I see the words annual and I immediately rebel. I was like, I resist reading this. I will not again. But just now, while Becca was going through the plot, I was following along. It's still crap. But she did say something that piqued my interest, which was the ads were the best. And this has been like a 35-year mystery for me, but I cannot remember, and I cannot find anyone who could tell me where this chocolate-filled gum I used to chew as a child, where I can get it or what it was called. Well, wouldn't you know, on like the third page is a freaking ad for this gum. It's called Bonkers.
Right.
And I remember specifically my father would get me the chocolate-filled ones because he also liked the chocolate-filled ones.
I'm pretty sure I had those as a kid, yeah. But my question is, why are they gone now?
Well, they were discontinued by the brand in the the late 90s, but I think the patent was repurchased by a company called Leaf. Now who cares about the annual? I only care about candy.
Bonkers cast.
It looks like
Bonkers cast only.
Here comes the Bonkers cast.
We can all cosplay as these people from the ad.
Yep. I have this sweater. Do I have this sweater? I do.
It looks like a company called Leaf Brands acquired the trademark for the Bonkers candy, and in 2017 they made samples of the old Bonkers fruit chews, and then they posted it on their Twitter accounts, and then they have not said anything since 2017.
God.
Yeah, and to be honest, I remember it just being so much cleaner than what Leaf has produced. Like, it kind of looks messy. You can see the inside is mixing with the outside, and it's not as great. But you know what? If someone could just get on bringing these Bonkers back, you have a customer. I would be a retailer. I have a store that we could carry them in. All I want.
I'm Bonkers for this chewing gum.
I've got Josh. He can do voiceover. But anyway, yeah, so
you can't buy these things anywhere. I'm like trying to find where you can buy them for Jolie.
Right? I'm desperate. They need to be. Maybe we could like write to Claire Saffitz and have her do like a gourmet makes Bonkers from the 90s.
Ooh.
Oh, I love her. She's the only reason I can't get rid of my Facebook because I see her videos on there.
Yeah. I mean, a dessert person is my kind of person. But yeah, so anyway, back to
No, we can keep talking about Bonkers.
Okay, so that's the first thing I have to get off my chest. The second thing, and like the least important thing, is why would Tony Stark name his son Arno?
They're not related.
Yeah, not his son.
It's like his nephew first removed, like, kid. They're, like, never confirmed to be actually related, but his name is Arno Stark.
Okay.
His father's name is Morgan, who is also not confirmed to be connected to Tony Stark.
Okay, cool. So no one is going to address the idea that, like, Arno, like, are the Starks Italian? I thought Stark was British.
Wait, don't they talk about how he does have a relative named Morgan? Or is that just an MCU thing?
I don't.
Because they name their daughter Morgan Stark
in the MCU. Yeah, her name's Morgan.
Oh.
And they say something about it in Infinity War. I think about
Whoa.
naming their kid after their uncle or cousin or something like that, or his uncle or cousin.
So they could be setting it up, sort of, maybe.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Morgan Stark is the cousin of Tony Stark, the nephew of Howard and Maria Stark.
Okay.
Well, anyway, that's it for me, this peanut gallery assertion about snacks, because That's all I care about at this point. I mean, I could talk about the other snack ads if you want me to.
I mean,
they were good ads.
Gumby and Pokey. What else?
Right?
I love Pokey.
It's such a good name for a candy too. What is it? Let's see. Gum Dinger. But it's like a blow pop / Tootsie Roll. So Gummy needs to make a comeback.
This comic is only worth it for the ads. They got M&Ms, they got Bonkers, they got Gumby, they got Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
They got Yamaha.
Oh yeah, you can buy a whole keyboard. Some karate lessons. Sea Monkeys. There's pre-Sea Monkeys. There's an ad for Amazing Mystery Shrimp. So that's pre-Sea Monkeys. Sea Monkeys.
Wow.
Amazing Mystery Shrimp.
You get, for $2, you get a whole Sea Monkeys kit. Raise amazing mystery shrimp in a jar of water. Sea eggs hatch in 1 day. Fascinating hobby. Easy care pets are marvels of nature. Complete kit includes illustrated instruction manual. Thousands of live eggs. Sea salt mixture. Water purifier. Special growth food. Only $2.
Sea Monkeys.
I love Sea Monkeys. I follow this girl on Instagram. She takes care of sea monkeys. She's also on TikTok. And she shows you how to take care of sea monkeys. Oh my god, I love it.
You have to send me this TikTok because I kind of want to get sea monkeys now.
Yeah, they're just brine shrimp, but they got a whole little world in there.
Also, this detective school. Learn how the pros do it. Oh wow. Also, do you know what's really cool too is that there's an ad for comic book conventions in 1986 and there's only 5. And one of them is in New Brunswick, New Jersey at the Hyatt Regency. Wow, this one in Manhattan had Jim Shooter and Stan Lee. And they were doing a Marvel's 25th anniversary. That's so cute. Right?
So quaint, yeah.
They also have a list of comic book shops you can go to.
Yeah.
And there's 10, and they have one in there's 3 in California, there's 1 in Connecticut, there's 1 in Michigan, and then it goes Canada, and there's 2 in all of Canada. One's in Ontario and one's in BC. So you can go one or the other.
Free sports equipment. Anyway, so yeah, that's honestly, I recommend this issue for the ads alone.
I sold it. I will never read it again unless I do another podcast about Spider-Man. But yeah, Josh, what do you think?
No.
Don't read this issue. Bex Luthor.
No.
Also no.
All right. Well, I guess that's that. Do not read this issue. And thank you for joining us, Bex Luthor. Thank you for joining us, G.I. Jolie. Hope you can be with us again next week. Josh, tell us where you can find our episodes.
Yeah, you can find our episodes on Spotify or Apple Music. It really helps when you leave us a review over on Apple Podcasts, or you can drop us a line on Twitter at HCT Spidercast. You can find us also pretty much anywhere else at the Comic Book Syndicate. Yeah, please let us know what you guys think about the issues we're talking about and the podcast itself. It really helps. We want to keep that comics conversation going.
Right, and be sure to join us next week for Web of Spider-Man 21, featuring a fill-in story by Stanley's brother, who he never mentions in interviews. Amazing Spider-Man featuring the Absorbing Man and Titania, and Peter Parker featuring a point-of-view Rashomon-type story by Peter David. So that should be fun. Ooh. So until next week, see you later.